Welcome to the Kiwimana Day.
Hi everyone, this is Gary from Kiwimana, and this is episode 23 of the Kiwimana Buzz. It's a show where we talk about beekeeping, gardening and life, and my name's Gary and my co-host is Margaret. How are you today?
Good, thanks.
And so what's been happening at Kiwimana lately?
Well, in this episode we are covering some of the latest issues that have been going on, and there's been issues about Monsanto and an article about Apistan, and what was the other thing that we were going to be talking about? Skinks.
Skinks,
and
yep.
wasps.
And famous beekeepers.
Yeah, we had some interesting events over this last month, and it's hard to believe it's 4 weeks ago since we did the last podcast. So,
yep,
moving along.
Absolutely. And what have I been doing? We've been cleaning up the workshop, haven't we? Trying to see what the concrete floor looks like.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's usually covered in sawdust. And thanks to everyone that's added their names to the waiting list on our website for products. It's fantastic. So we need to get some mesh boards underway, don't we? Because there's a few people waiting for those.
Yeah, we have to get the mice moved out of the garage because they seem to have made a nice home. So we're slowly dispatching those as we can find them. Yes,
we've been catching some mice, unfortunately. And we'll have to deal with those.
Yeah, and Snow's been on guard duty, which is her job at Kiwimana HQ, and she's being very vigilant. So you may hear her barking through this podcast.
Yes, she's very good at barking at shadows and moving trees.
Indeed.
And we have our goat Louise. She wasn't so well, was she? She was quite anemic and had some issues with worms and stuff, so we had to get her drenched and stuff.
Yeah.
But she's coming right now, isn't she?
Yeah, well, we hope so. It's already been pretty wet. We just had Queen's birthday weekend here in Auckland, New Zealand, and we had 3 days of no rain. But today, I think the heavens open, and we've got all 3 days all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bees have been quite quiet, haven't they? A couple of them have been having some cleansing flights. They were quite busy yesterday, weren't they?
That was yesterday, because it was quite sunny, and a few hives who are doing more cleansing flights than others. So it's just a case of we just keep an eye on them, and the heavy rain and the wasps are definitely prevalent at the moment. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the temperature last week got down to about 5 degrees, isn't it?
Yeah, it was quite chilly.
It was.
And up here on the hill at Kiwimana HQ, we don't usually get frost, so we've had quite a mix of weather. We've had huge hailstones in the last few weeks, and it almost looked like snow.
It did. We should put some of those photos on the blog post, eh? That looked quite good.
Pretty significant. I was sort of thinking, I hope my tree's going to be all right. Hope my plant's going to be all right. Hope the bees are going to be on right.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
They seem to have made it through. So,
and what day was it? Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. I was on a podcast of a panel of podcasters from America, and we were talking about how to do better podcasts. So that was quite good, wasn't it? There were some quite famous podcasters on there.
Yeah, well done. It sounded like you had a bit of fun with them and learnt some new things. So it's always helpful, isn't it, to share and learn new stuff? Absolutely.
And the topic of that one was dealing with negative feedback. So that was good. And so we'll put the link to that on the in the show notes as well. And the show notes for this podcast will be kiwimana.co.nz/23. And so what was this about skinks? Were you saying the wasps were attacking? What was it about the skinks and the wasps? Yeah,
we've got a sort of a carport area which sits on the sunniest side of the house, and I've got some driftwood in there and hay for Louise in there, and the skinks have moved in. I think there's like 3 colonies in there. Anyway, I was just sitting in the sun just enjoying the vitamin D, And yeah, I noticed that the skinks were just, moving around the driftwood and sitting in the sun and just enjoying their time too. And then suddenly a wasp came along and tried to get the skink, and the skink obviously fought back, and then the wasp, had to retreat, but I tried to squash it, and I think I injured it a bit, but I was quite surprised to see that. But it appears that the wasps at the moment are looking for protein, so some of the skinks are really little still, so they're just babies. So I'd say they'd be fair game for the hungry wasps, which I hate.
Yeah. And skinks are like little lizards, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. We've got, I think the skinks that we've got are not the native species, but I think the native species are more a copper colour. So I don't really know a lot about that, but I still like to see them sitting in the sun, just enjoying the day. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. So should we move on to the news?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, the first news this week is New Zealand's most famous beekeeper, Sir Edmund Hillary. He actually climbed up Mount Everest 60 years ago, wasn't it? That was on the 29th of May, 1953.
Yes, and a very auspicious occasion for New Zealanders.
Exactly, and that date's quite auspicious too, isn't it?
Yes.
Because one of the co-hosts of the Kiwimana Buzz was actually born on that day, but not that year.
No, not that year, but
no.
Yeah, the 29th of May was significant for us, eh?
Yes, so Margaret's had a birthday since the last show, haven't you?
Yeah, so it was really, been exciting that Sir Ed, succeeded, because, reading some of the information there was a lot of failed attempts beforehand, so it was really good that Sir Ed knocked them off, so that's all good.
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous mountain, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And the next news item we've got here is we had a blog post, not a blog post, a article we found about 20 foods and products that have been genetically modified, and that was quite surprising, some of the things in there, wasn't it? Like a lot of
quite shocking,
corn
really.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's quite shocking, because it's almost like they're just doing and making all these changes to foods, and the public just, are ignorant or in ignorance of it, because the food isn't being labelled accordingly. We don't know where that stuff comes from. I don't know. A lot of things are of concern that, they should be saying that the seeds are genetically modified, or they have insecticides in them. Everything like that should be labelled accordingly, in my view.
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, if things were labelled that said genetically modified food in this packet, then I think that's a good idea, because it would help the consumers choose what's the best food. If they decide to eat it, then that's great. If they don't know, they just will grab it, won't they? Yeah.
And does that link to the Monsanto issue as well? Is that part of this organic movement? Is the Seattle organic restaurants? Is that what this is connected to?
Yes, that is. That's part of the that's the website it was on, the Seattle Organic Restaurants. So we'll put that in the show notes. And also we had a protest, didn't we?
Yeah, there was the worldwide protest about Monsanto, and on the 25th of May there was a march in 400 cities across the world to say no, we don't want
Monsanto.
Yeah, we don't want Monsanto having control of our food chain, basically.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I had the flu quite badly that day. So that was no good. But maybe next time, eh?
Yeah, it was unfortunate that happened.
Speaking of Monsanto, there was actually in Hungary have got a novel way of actually getting rid of their cornfields, haven't they? They've actually burnt down all the Monsanto cornfields.
I thought that was amazing. I mean, I think that if, it appears that Europeans are saying, no, we don't want these Monsanto to have control of our food chain. We're not happy with what they're providing us. And even in the articles that we've seen is that the guys who are speaking for them are saying, that the public don't want the broad public do not want these genetically modified foods or seeds or anything. So maybe they're starting to understand that we want real food.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And there was some good news of the day, wasn't there? Because Monsanto have stopped lobbying for GM plants in Europe because of lack of interest by farmers. So, that kind of proves that protesting does work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So that's great news. And in some more positive news, I think the dog's found another rat. But anyway, in more positive news, Vita have started registration in Europe for a product called HopGuard, which is using hops to control varroa mites, and it's a natural food compound, isn't it?
It sounds like it's might be a good research, and hopefully it does work. Snow, come here.
Sorry,
well,
guys.
There you go. When we were talking about the Monsanto side of things, it was really interesting to see that we saw a movie a few years ago called Food.Inc. and that is one of the ones that really does show you what happens when large corporations are trying to control the food chain. So we really encourage you to have a look at that movie and see what is happening. And there are issues with seeds being owned by Monsanto and other large corporations, and that they are making them their own product so that farmers can't reseed from the product and things like that. And a lot of farmers are becoming victims to this large corporation who are providing these seeds. And, you've just got to see the movie, Food.Inc. Have a look at that. We'll put it on our show notes.
Yeah, I'll put it on our show notes. It's a documentary film, and it is quite good, isn't it?
And it just gives you some insights as to what's been going on in America and overseas. And, that my fear is, well, it's a real fear, because Monsanto are saying that now Europe are not interested in these foods, and that's why all these marches are really good, and well done to everyone for going along. And hopefully that New Zealand doesn't become a victim of this whole situation, because, we've had some people coming to New Zealand from America saying that, we have to help feed the world. Well, the whole world does not want to eat corn, which has got insecticides in it and is not even healthy for us. So, healthy people eat varied foods, and that is not how I perceive what these foods are offering us. So anyway, make your own decisions and have a look at that movie.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. And we did a blog post this week about Apistan, and it's called Apistan, What Is It and Why We Don't Use It. And this involved a lot of controversy, didn't it? We got a few bit of feedback. And we even got feedback from Vita themselves. They're the company that produce it.
We did get a good response to this, because, we have also covered blogs where we have been to meetings where the National Beekeeping Association and Plant and Food in New Zealand have done all these studies on varroa resistance. So with Vita having a look at a natural food-based compound to help with varroa will be awesome. You
mean the HopGuard? Yeah.
Yeah, the HopGuard.
Yeah.
That's a definite bonus. If we get, Monsanto halt GM push in Europe, then we hope that they don't push in New Zealand. So there's some really positive things going on at the moment. So we really encourage people to make sure that they don't buy any products from these companies that are causing these issues. And we just keep planting, bee-friendly stuff. And Apistan is one of those products that we're aware that the research is showing that the varroa are becoming resistant.
Yeah, we're actually reading other people's studies. Like we're not scientists ourselves, and someone was saying that we're quoting pseudoscience, but it's other people's studies, and basically the studies sort of indicate that there's the wax actually absorbs the chemical, so it actually stays in your comb. And the other thing was they were saying that the drones have lower sperm counts and the queens live less time. And we've actually heard from Vita themselves, actually got in touch with us and said they have done some studies on the wax residue, and their suggestion was if you melt the wax down, it actually spreads the chemical further away around, so it doesn't actually cause it doesn't concentrate on the areas where the actual strips were. So okay. Hopefully we can get them on the podcast at some point and have a talk about this. But I think for New Zealanders, probably the biggest issue is it doesn't actually. They're becoming resistant to it. So, I think the biggest thing is just whatever you use, just make sure you check that it actually has worked and your mite counts are lower. So try and do a mite count before and after.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my tip of the week, and because that's. And this article's also got a thing from Mark Goodwin about how you actually check for resistance. So it's a good little thing there how you do it. And so I think, you've got to make sure these products work.
I think that's one of the keys that Mark Goodwin did bring up, is that you treat your hives regularly every 3 months. You use a variation of methods to control your varroa, mesh boards, different types of treatments. And one of the other things which was really crucial was to monitor. If you don't monitor your hives on a regular basis, you do not know what's going on inside the hive. So you put in your inspection boards and you monitor what's going on, because things that come on your inspection boards will show you if your bees are getting robbed. It will show you if your bees are getting killed, and pieces of bees will be showing on there. They're getting, attacked by wasps. And it'll also show you your varroa levels. So there's a lot of issues that you can manage, but by putting in your inspection boards on a regular basis and seeing what is happening inside the hive itself. So, folks, check your hives regularly. Absolutely.
And you can actually also over winter, it's a good indication to check how big the cluster is, because you can actually see like the pattern, can't you, of the bees?
Absolutely. Generally right in the middle of your inspection board, you'll see the most residue.
Yeah, absolutely. And our dog is barking. We'll have to put her right. We'll have to go and shoot her.
She's just she's just managing the vermin issue. So.
I know, but she must realise that we are recording a podcast. That's not really her. Anyway,
okay, green lights, new pesticide highly toxic to bees.
Yes. Dow Chemicals are releasing a new chemical called sulfoxaflor. Is that how you say it?
Sounds like it.
And they're releasing it despite warnings and concerns raised by beekeepers and environmental groups. So the EPA in America, not the one in New Zealand, for all those New Zealanders, have approved this. So that's not good news, is it?
It does make you wonder where they base their approvals on. How do they reach that conclusion that it's okay?
Well, I guess they think they've studied it well enough, or But isn't normally Dow Chemicals the one that they actually do the testing, don't they? The actual company does the testing.
I'm not so sure
seems
about.
A bit silly to me.
Yeah. I guess if you're testing it and you're selling it, there's a bit of conflict of interest in my view.
Yes, I think so. Okay, and the next thing we're going to talk about is German wasps and how to keep them out of your beehives. We've actually talked about this last week, but it just this article has become quite popular this month, hasn't it?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
We're actually seeing that the wasps at the moment, aren't they, building up quite a lot?
Yeah, they are, and you can see them hanging around. Most of the hives are pretty vigilant against them and showing them on the way, but you still see them out there cutting up bits of bees, so you've got to be very aware that at this time of the year it's a good time for them, and they're definitely looking for protein. So we have it's called a German wasp robbing screen. Well, I just call it a wasp guard, and it's very simplistic and very easy to put together, and you can put it on the front of your hive, and it seems to create a barrier for the wasps. So yeah, check out this article. We found them very helpful. Yeah,
and we've made some up, haven't we, for Dave in Wanaka. He's asked for some. So that's been quite good, because he's having quite bad problems at the moment with wasps in Wanaka. So
sorry, what was his name?
Dave.
Dave's not here.
No, he is here. Oh, yeah, it's an old joke.
Indeed.
I actually listened to the Tommy Chong podcast. It's actually quite funny. You should check that out, guys. It's quite a good podcast.
Bit of fun
for Check and Chong fans out there, if you know who they are. Anyway, back to our podcast. We interviewed Sam Reed from Plant and Food, and she was talking about her pseudoscorpion study. So that was interesting, wasn't it, Margaret?
Yeah, we've been told about pseudoscience this week, and last month we talked about pseudoscorpions. So I guess the pseudo side of things is alive and well,
taken care of.
Indeed.
So that's a short interview. It's about half an hour, but that's worthwhile listening to. That's kiwimana podcast number 22. So that's kiwimana.co.nz/22 if you want to listen to that. And they're doing some interesting research about pseudoscorpions and how they actually naturally eat varroa mites.
Yeah, I think one of the things that that we talked about was one of the methods that they're using, which is putting some leaf litter and stuff in the bottom of the hive, and that to me would be quite controversial. So I think if we had a kiwimana mesh board, you could get away with that. It wouldn't actually be sitting in the hive, so the bees wouldn't be throwing everything out. But if you've got a solid bottom board and you put in a whole lot of leaf litter, then it'd be very difficult to monitor for any pests and stuff. So I think they've got a bit of work to do on that study.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the next part? Beekeeping tip of the week. What, have you got any tips this week, Margaret?
Yeah, just do your monitoring. Check your varroa levels. Check your wasps. If you've got wasps there, they're usually in the morning. Just before the bees start to come out, when the cluster might be up in the second level. If you've got 2 levels on, if you've got 1 level on, you should have a reduced entrance. Well, a reduced entrance anyway for winter.
Yeah.
But keep an eye on that in the early morning and in the evenings, just before, nightfall. That's when I've seen them around. So if you have evidence of that, put your wasp guards on, and monitor your varroa levels, because there are some people who haven't treated, and you may lose your hives as a result of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of treatments this are actually dependent on temperature, and it's starting to get very cold, so they won't probably work as effectively as they would have in autumn. So yeah, that's bad luck if you haven't done it yet. Well, my tip of the week is if you get old sacking from a coffee shop, which you can use in your smoker, but if you hang them on fences, you might find that queen wasps, or yellow jackets for our American listeners, they actually go into there, and the queens actually try and hibernate inside the sac.
Mm.
So what you can do is put them in there, and then just keep checking every so often, and just squash them. Because we did a lot last year, didn't we? In the what was that? In the tarpaulin.
Yeah, we had some tarpaulins that were lying on the ground.
On their firewood, wasn't it?
Yeah, and over the firewood, and we found a whole lot of queens through that. So, yeah, that is a good method, and it's pretty. The results are pretty good. So, yeah, give it a go, folks.
Absolutely. And yeah, we've had a few positive feedbacks this month, haven't we? We had a beautiful letter today from Debbie, saying that she really enjoyed our article about Apistan and enjoys our blog, so that was great, eh? Any feedback at all? I
think that the feedback that we get, whether it's positive or negative, is all good, because, you know, when people question us about an article we've written and they may not agree with what we're saying or have a view of that, I think it's good because we do the research and we find out as much information as we can, and we do form views from the research that we come across. So the more information that we can get from people, the more we can, you know, represent, you know, the current research. So if you guys have got any research out there or anything that you want to bring to us to, you know, maybe make some comments about our articles, then yeah, we'd be happy to look at it. And, you know, if anyone wants to have an interview about, you know, some of the topics, then we're happy to do that. So contact us at info@kiwimana.co.nz.
Absolutely. And if you want to do a guest blog post, we're open for that too, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, and one of the things that we're looking at going forward is, you know, more gardening information. So yeah, the more the merrier. And
speaking of that, tonight we have our guest blog post from a guy called Chris in England, and he's got an article about hedgehogs. So
okay.
that'll be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here we go. It's called Hedgehogs, Some Hair-Raising Facts. So check that out. That's an interesting article about the hedgehogs in England are actually getting their natural habitats are being reduced. So that's no good.
Yeah, they don't do very well here in New Zealand. They're always getting squashed on the road.
They are.
And they have a lot of diseases which they carry, and you don't want children even touching them because they are very full of parasites. So be very careful here in New Zealand when you see a hedgehog, and avoid your dogs from touching them as well.
And also avoid your dogs touching rats. It's because we talked to Joyce in the weekend, didn't we? And they have
some
what was it, leptosemia or something?
Leptosputum or something. I'm not sure what
disease.
It's called.
It's not very good.
Which is only present in the rats here in, is it West Auckland? Did she say?
I think so. It's near where people have pigs.
Yeah.
So that's why.
So yeah, I mean, be very careful. Make sure your dogs don't just go in there and get infected, because apparently it's a killer.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to leave some feedback on our podcast, you can go to kiwimana.co.nz/iTunes and leave a review for us. It'd be fantastic. You know, good or bad, guys, we'd appreciate your feedback. And we'll talk about it next week. And things coming up, we've got an interview this weekend with Emma and Emily from London about their beekeeping over there in the big city. And we've got a few other articles coming up, haven't we?
Yep.
So yeah, keep in touch. And have you got anything else to say, Margaret?
Oh no, just we're getting lots of orders for bees as well. So we're going to be selling a few beginners kits, which is excellent. And we've got work to do, and we'll just get that whole garage sorted out, and we'll be on.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. Well, till next time, we'll see you later on the Kiwimana Buzz. And please subscribe to us and go to our website and click on the subscribe button, and you'll see how we can do that. Cheers, guys. Oh, also, we've got to say,
Forgot to say.
One more thing. If you if you like us, and if you can visit this site, I love kiwimana.com, and that will pre-populate a Twitter message for your Twitter followers and tell them about our podcast. So if you could do that, that would be awesome.
Oh, and don't forget to keep monitoring your hives.
Yeah, check for your mites.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to do an article this month about how to check with them for using the sugar shake method. So that's be interesting to show people how to do that.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
See ya!